How's it going, everybody? Welcome to yet another edition of the Cream City Cast, CreamCityCentral.com's weekly podcast, talking the latest about the Milwaukee Bucks, brought to you by Shepherd Express. Check out their stuff on ShepherdExpress.com, all cool stuff going on in Milwaukee. Joined by, once again, with Cream City writer Andrew Goodman. Andrew, how's it going? Thanks for being here.
Of course, man. Always a pleasure to be on here. Can't complain after a Bucks victory, but again, it was another inconsistent week for the Bucks, and where they went 2-2, losing both games to the Toronto Raptors, beating the Pacers, and then finally beating the Wizards tonight. My MVP for the week is definitely going to be Giannis Antetokounmpo. In his 4 games this week, first off, starting in Toronto, 26 points. Then Wednesday against the Pacers, 31 points. Then yesterday against the Raptors, 24 points, but we won't discuss that game. And then tonight, he finished with 34 points in what I think was his best performance of the season so far.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good choice. I'm tempted to go with Chris Middleton, but a little too inconsistent for me. I think I'm going to have to go with either Eric Bledsoe, who seemingly in this last week since the new year started has really just been there to make big shots. He made a couple of them tonight against the Wizards. He made one against on a switch where one of the Morris twins was guarding him, and he just kind of froze him and elevated and hit a 3, which I thought was, very, very, it's a good sign, because if Eric Bledsoe's hitting that shot, people are going to have to start respecting the 3, and they're not going to be able to guard him as close. But I would also say another candidate is John Henson. Maybe not as consistent over the 4 games, but tonight he went 11-11 in pretty dominant fashion, 5 of 8 from the floor. John Henson seems to be the key to the consistency for the Bucks.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more on that. If the Bucks can get consistent production from John Henson, I don't know how many years we've been saying this, but he's going to be an important piece that will help elevate this Bucks team. Could you imagine if he were to average anywhere per season, this is around like 11 points per game and 8 rebounds? The Bucks are looking like a totally different team if that were to happen. And I know that's asking for a lot, but John Henson, I believe this is his 5th season. It shouldn't be too much to ask for at this point.
No, and scoring 11 points, I mean, you're right, 11 points a game. I mean, that's on what, maybe 7 or 8 shots in a game. You can get that 11 points. Rebounding, he easily could be a double-digit rebounder every night if he tried. But, I don't know, maybe kids' effort and energy has been getting into their head a little bit. But
yeah, I definitely see that.
Yeah, but, there's a lot to talk about, especially looking at the 2 Raptors losses this week. It's kind of troubling, especially the one on Friday night, where they just absolutely got dismantled. And, there's a lot that we can get into why that happened. Did they maybe have an off night? I don't know. What do you think?
To me, what I've learned through the 2 games with the Raptors this season, although they blew us out yesterday, I think they're the Bucks' new biggest rival. I think in terms of how the teams are matched up and how, this was evident, especially in the first game in Toronto, just how bad both teams wanted to win that game. Back and forth, very entertaining game. And whenever they play, it's almost like a playoff atmosphere. So I think this newfound rivalry with the Toronto Raptors is really good for them.
And I agree with you. I will say that in the game on Friday night, the first game of the double had a back-to-back. They really were in the game if you get rid of the third quarter. They lost that quarter by 24 points. They ended up losing the game by 19. So, still inexcusable. You have to play a full game, but minus that quarter, I think we were in it pretty much, at halftime. It was a close game. I was ready to get ready for another one of those nail biters that we had in the previous meeting with the Raptors. But little things, the little details kind of slip away. Valanciunas had 13 rebounds, which is unbelievable. all five of the Raptors starting five was in the positive column for plus minus, all double digits. Uh, Three players had over 20 points. One of them not even being Kyle Lowry, Serge Ibaka did, and I don't have it in front of me, but I wonder how many of those were second chance opportunities.
Yeah, it's interesting that you bring up the third quarter because in my observations and watching Bucks games previous years, that the Bucks tend to be kind of a crappier team in third quarters, and this has been the case, this is since like Skiles was around, and it was no different on Friday against the Raptors, where Jonas Valanciunas had 20 points and 9 rebounds in that quarter alone. And like you said, rebounding was the key. And in the third period, the Raptors out rebounded the Bucks 18-2, which is just unfathomable.
Yeah, and it really is interesting how they will play because, if they have to get past the Raptors in the playoffs, they're going to have to adjust the rebounding. And, as all Bucks fans know, the Bucks are going to be waiving DeAndre Liggins on Sunday. And, with rumors of Andrew Bogut being cut by the Lakers, is that a possible fit? Plug in and hopefully help on the rebound for certain matchups against Toronto. I mean, I don't know how effective that will be if they play him in long minutes. I hope they're not trying to, slot him in front of Thon. But if you're talking about 10 minutes a game where you need a couple key rebounds, I could definitely see it. What about you?
Yeah, Bogut in a short stint of like 10 minutes I think would be okay. But for me, it goes deeper than that. In Bogut in this over-aggressive type defense that the Bucks employ, he doesn't fit. If you're going to have him running around the court in his 10 minutes, switching everything, I mean, right. I just don't think he fits that mold. And as for releasing DeAndre Liggins, I know most Bucks fans are happy. I know some are torn on this, but let's be honest here. It's the right move. He doesn't have any shooting ability. And I will give him credit. He does really get after it on the defensive end, but it usually ends up in possessions with him, committing really, really bad fouls late in the shot clock.
Yeah, you're right. I think defensively, it would be a little bit of a boost having Bogut for those minutes, especially because Thon is kind of lightweight and can't really bang in the post with like Valanciunas, Ibaka, just going off the Raptors' recency. But I would honestly, in my opinion, I would be more intrigued to see the Bucks small ball lineup with Jabari rather than I would be with having Bogut. Any comment on that idea?
Yeah, we saw tonight the Bucks went small late in the game, especially in clutch time. And this is when the Bucks are at their best. We've said it before and we'll say it again. The Bucks are a great team when they're playing small ball and they have Giannis at the 5. They're a totally different team with that dynamic with the 2 point guards and Brogdon and Bledsoe running the wings on a fast break and Giannis controlling it. It just brings a certain aspect to the Bucks on offense and on defense. It improves their athleticism and speed on the outside.
Yeah, and you're going to be playing against some teams where you're going to have to try to match it up this week. We have Indiana at Indiana, which with Victor Oladipo, you're going to see a little bit more of what this team, how they stack up against Indiana, because taking Victor Oladipo off that team really is kind of like the heart and soul of the Pacers, which kind of I think led to the 20-point win we had earlier this week on Wednesday. Orlando next. I know Vucevic is out, but they're tricky with Aaron Gordon and such like that, Elfrid Payton, and then you have the Warriors on Friday, which ESPN, you're on the bright lights. If the Bucks can keep up to their playing to other teams' potential, I think we could be in store for a good one on Friday.
It's another tough schedule ahead for the Bucks. Victor Oladipo, as we know, came back today for the Indiana Pacers, and I don't know if you saw his line, but he had a totally ridiculous all-around game in 3 quarters. So he certainly adds a different element. I believe he's an all-star this year, for sure.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, he changed the scenery without Russ. Maybe it's not from that, but I think so. But I think another interesting thing we need to talk about is the starting lineup because Brogdon has been the most selfless piece on the Bucks all year. And looking at how he works with that starting lineup and going small, I think it gives the Bucks much more because especially the way his ability to drive. He looks honestly like, I know it's a little far fetched, but he reminds me of Steve Nash out there because he's dribbling so calmly through the paint and finding the open guy no matter what. And he's smooth with both hands. He's a good passer. He's a good shooter. I think that having him in the starting lineup is a better fit because Snell can come in and hit spot minutes where you need him to defend, and where there's a group in there where he can stick in the corner and hit threes.
Yeah, I'm kind of conflicted on this. I really do like Malcolm Brogdon in the starting lineup and, staggering Tony Snell to the bench. But then again, there are going to be times where you're going to need Brogdon, regardless where he's coming from off the bench or starting. He's going to play starters minutes. So you're going to have to, kind of stagger between playing him with the starters and also with the bench. Because if you have Tony Snell, he's not a ball handler, unlike Malcolm Brogdon. So I do like Malcolm Brogdon inserted into the starting lineup for sure. He had a tough game today, tough matchup with John Wall, but coming off the back-to-back, we'll see if they can keep it up on Monday. See if Jason Kidd makes any other adjustments.
Yeah, and I think that when you look at it more, it's almost to the Bucks' advantage that they can mix and match their starting lineup based on a given night. I don't think necessarily Jason Kidd's reasoning behind all these change within the lineups is because there's turmoil or some people aren't performing. I think that he does it a little bit more to mix and match like where he wants his pieces to be. But there's sometimes where he messes it up. Like I think, for example, when we played the Raptors in Toronto and DeRozan was going off, Tony Snell was on the bench the whole time. That's the time when you need him to go down there and lock down DeRozan. And he failed to do that. I just think he needs to be smarter.
Yeah, that DeRozan, what was a 52-point game? That was just amazing. He was hitting from everywhere. So I agree with you there. That needs to be in there on DeRozan. But, it just looked like DeRozan wasn't going to miss at all. And tonight, Tony Snell had a pretty good game. Off the bench, 10 points. He was a plus 15 on the night. He did the little things tonight that really helped. If you look at his line score, he really isn't going to blow you away. But I thought he had a great game tonight.
Mm-hmm. And I also noticed that we had six Bucks were in double figures tonight. And I think that's really the key to success is spreading it around because when you know Giannis is going to get it, what are they going to do? They're going to pack the paint in. Although I'm going to stop myself right there. I have an alert because Giannis's jump shot has been looking pretty silky. There has been some absolute filth coming out of his hands sometimes in those turnaround jumpers, and he hit a big one. He hit two big ones with under 3 minutes to go in today's game. One with under a minute. I was not to say I was shocked, but man, if he can do that, you know how much that does for everyone else, including Giannis.
Yeah, his performance tonight in clutch time was just absurd when he got back and when he was inserted back in the lineup with 3 minutes to go with those 5 fouls. He just took over the game. He had 6 points and 2 crucial rebounds, but that one turnaround Jay over one of the Morris twins was just pure butter. That reminded me a little of Kobe right there in his prime. And then that off the dribble elbow jump shot over Kelly Oubre, that was just icing on the cake. And I'm reading a stat right here from @AllTheBucks on Twitter. Giannis Antetokounmpo is currently casually shooting 20 out of 30, which is 66.6% in clutch situations. So pretty impressive to say the least.
He's a clutch player. I mean, he's the most athletic player, one of the most athletic. Probably the two, I'd say him, LeBron, and Russell are probably the 3 best athletes in the league. Probably, would you? I mean, maybe you could probably, I'm sure you could throw another person in there I'm not thinking of, but.
Yeah, Giannis is just a freak, offense, defense. It's just, he does at least a handful of things a game where you just have your jaw on the floor like, did he really just do that? And that finish he had yesterday against Toronto, that long outlet pass from, I believe it was Dellavedova, he made a one-handed, look like a wide receiver catch, and then somehow contorted his body behind the backboard into a finish under the basket. It was just insane.
Absolutely. And you just brought his name up. Dellavedova got a little too gritty tonight. Carelessly dragged down Bradley Beal on a drive in the third quarter, resulting in his ejection from the game. I think that I also should have probably called a technical on Bradley Beal, as he looked like he was choking the ref out. Just want to get your take on that.
Yeah, for me, I thought that was a flagrant one, but I didn't believe it warranted a flagrant two. I think the call was based off of Matthew Dellavedova's, reputation, and the fact that Bradley Beal was going directly to the basket at a high rate of speed made it look a lot worse than it was. And then, like you said, Bradley Beal, hand on the ref's neck, pushing him away. I believe that's either a flagrant one or an ejection. And you know what? Some of the calls tonight on both ends of the floor were just, mind-boggling, to say the least. So it was a very weird officiated game, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And, I also think that the ejection was kind of stemmed from, there was a kind of a big reaction from the crowd, and the skirmish at the end probably didn't help. If it was kind of just, the play happened and it's over with, I don't think he gets that flagrant two. But, I mean, you can't really complain. I also think that one more key from tonight's game against the Wizards was limiting John Wall to 16 points. They had one 20-point scorer tonight, and Bradley Beal, who actually exactly had 20. Both of them shot 19 shots. John Wall had 5, and Bradley Beal made 7, and they held them. They only made 2 threes all night, and Bradley Beal only had 1. So, I mean, if you do that and you can shut down those defenders, shut down those key guards in a pretty guard-driven Eastern Conference, you'll be in good shape, because the Wizards are a playoff team, and they're someone you could see in a first or second round matchup, depending how the seeding goes.
Yeah, Wizards are definitely a top team in the East, and like you said, not shutting down, but limiting Bradley Beal and John Wall. It goes back to the defense of Eric Bledsoe. I thought he did a great job on John Wall tonight, although Wall had 16 points and 16 assists. He shot 5 of 19 from the field and really had to earn it, and most of those dimes, as we know, John Wall is one of the best penetrators in the league, so he's going to get those easy dump-offs to Marcin Gortat, Markieff Morris, etc., so you can only do so much about that. Bradley Beal as well. I thought Tony Snell did a great job of him. Bradley Beal, 7 of 19 from the floor, 20 points, and 1 of 7 from 3. So if you do that on most nights, holding the opponent's 2 best players to those type of numbers, you're going to be in good shape, for sure.
What do you think? Who do you think would win in a race, John Wall or Eric Bledsoe?
Oh, man, that's a tough one. It'd be close, but I think John Wall would beat him out by a little bit.
All right, I think we should put a poll question up.
That's actually a good question,
and we'll get some answers for you guys on the next pod. I think the Bucks are in good shape, though. I mean, you lose to Toronto, and that's fine. They're your rivals. It's early in the season yet, and it'll be interesting to see what they do with this wave. They have $5 million in cap space, and I believe it was $3.4 in trade exception money from Greg Monroe. So, I mean, they have some money available if they want to make some move. Do you think that? I mean, I understand Jabari is going to be our big pickup, but do you think that the Bucks are going to be quiet at the deadline?
Well, the Bucks are never really quiet around the deadline, so that's really a toss-up. I mean, any move they would make, I think they would have to give up some significant assets, unless, maybe you're floating around a trade for, like a Kyle O'Quinn type center player. I mean, so that's the thing really with the Bucks, is if you're going to trade for someone from the Bucks who is an important asset's probably going to be dealt. So
yeah, I mean,
really to be determined.
I think it's interesting with Liggins being waived. I understand a lot of it was about the contracts and stuff like that, but there's that open roster spot, so it's definitely there to have if someone wants it. But I think they're going to stand pat. You know, trading DJ Wilson or trading, you know, Tony Snell or someone like that. You're just hoping. You know what your team is. You're an above average 500 team right now. You have potential going into the playoffs. I think you give Jabari a chance. Because Jabari's going to be playing with a chip on his shoulder, 100%, because he wants to make money this offseason.
Yeah, Jabari Parker, getting really close to return. So things are looking up for the Bucks in terms of where they are right now. They are 21-17, so they are a few games over 500. So I am not sure what they would have to go to get to that 50-win plateau, but do you see that as a possibility still with how they played this season?
I think that 50 wins is highly unlikely. I would go with 46, maybe 47. But if 50 wins is the milestone, I don't think we're going to get it. But I do think that we are going to get to the second round of the playoffs. You think so? I think it's time. I believe. I believe, and if it means kids staying, I don't know if I'm happy about it, but I think I believe. I think so. I'm not gonna put my hand in the cookie jar yet, but I'm definitely grabbing the step stool and I'm reaching to find them.
I mean, tonight was pretty much a playoff preview. These two teams are going to be battling for the 4 and 5 seeds, so tonight definitely could have been a playoff preview for sure. I wouldn't be surprised if we end up in a series with the Wizards. I don't think that's the worst matchup per se. I think we match up, decent with them. They just have more depth than the Bucks do, but when Jabari Parker comes back, that changes everything.
Yep, and just want to give a shout out to Giannis. I believe this was the 27th straight game with 20 or more points. This is a record that no one has done since Shaquille O'Neal did in 2000 and 2001. So it's very impressive, to say the least, from a guy who's 23 years old. And I hope LeBron James was listening to Giannis's press conference.
Yeah, we all saw him say he would pick LeBron first, and House of Highlights actually posted the clip of him saying that on Instagram, and LeBron James liked it, so the plot is thickened.
Yes, the plot is thickened. So if you want to hear some LeBron to Milwaukee chatter, definitely jump on the Cream City cast. Andrew, do you want to just give them just recap what other games we have coming up for the rest of this week?
Yeah, so Monday, showdown on the road with the Indiana Pacers. And then on Wednesday, we play the Orlando Magic at home, followed by the Golden State Warriors on Friday, which should, whenever you get to see the Warriors play, that's a treat. And like you said, on ESPN, bright lights, I'm sure a lot of people are going to be watching. So another prime time for Giannis and company to shine, for sure.
And then Sunday against the Heat.
I'm missing that one?
Cannot forget the Heat.
Oh, man, I'm horrible. Yeah, Sunday against the Heat. The Heat have been depleted by injuries, but man,
if I could guess what would happen, I would guarantee you the Bucks win against the Warriors, but then lose by 20 to the Heat.
Wait a minute, am I reading this right? Their game on Sunday is at 10 a.m. my time. Jeez.
So it's an afternoon game. Oh,
it's at 1 p.m. Eastern. Oh man.
They're for sure. Yep, you heard it here. The Bucks will beat Golden State, but they will lose by 20 to Miami in pure Bucks fashion in a Sunday matinee.
I like to call that peak Bucks.
Yes, vintage Bucks. If you want to catch a good read, Andrew just dropped the 5 takeaways from tonight's victory against Washington. You can get them at his social at Andrew_Goodman3 to see where the article is, or you can go to creamcitycentral.com and look at it right there. My name's Dylan Piccolo. You can check me out at Dylan Piccolo 35. And thank you very much. Go Bucks.
Go Bucks.